Hey y'all, happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. My name's Taylor Chandler, licensed marriage and family therapist and personal development coach. Y'all, I have a special guest with you today. Her name is Rebecca. She ended up here, but with a comment. People were commenting on these reels, and I'm inviting them to the stage. She was so gracious to share her time with us tonight. And this was the comment was about uh, hearing lessons and not applying them. And I think that's so important that we acknowledge that there's been some information out here, maybe not always on the internet and easily accessible, but sometimes there's some lessons and teachings and people trying to, warn us along the way about what not to do and some guidance and wisdom about what to do, and it's being ignored. We can't always claim ignorance is the point. Okay. And now, especially, I think with so much information out here, it definitely can get confusing with all the different voices, and yet you should know them by their fruits. And I think at this point we have to be able to say there's a lot of information out here. We have to be able to be wise in the decisions that we're making. And so I'm sounding really serious about the conversation, but y'all, Rebecca's energy is so good. I think we're going to have a lot of fun talking about some really serious stuff. And I have a couple clips for us to jump off of today. And so, without further ado, I'm going to bring Rebecca onto the stage, have her introduce herself, and then we'll get started. Rebecca, hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm excellent. I'm excellent. Can you please, in a nutshell, tell viewers who you are?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so my name is Rebecca Billingsley, and I live in Columbus, Ohio, originally from Chicago area, by way of Cleveland, because I lived there for 5 years, and I've been in Columbus since 1989. Worked for the state of Ohio, retired back in 2020 during the pandemic. That was interesting. And then I now work part-time helping people, homeless people. I work with homeless and low-income people, helping them apply for Social Security disability. That's basically what I've done my whole life, working in that field or in that environment. And so I was married. I got married at the age of 27. And I was married for 19 years, almost 20, and we divorced in 2011. And so I've been divorced since then and have been, out here. And yeah, I'm good. So I'm good.
What part mean? What was that last little part? I've been out here and I'm
cool. Because, so let me say it was like being like I was like Rip Van Winkle.
Okay.
When I got married in 91 and divorced in 2011, those almost 20 years, society changed in terms of dating and everything significantly. And so I was not aware of the extent of that. I was not paying attention. And because, I was married. And so I was focused on that. And then I'm divorcing. So I'm focused on that. And I get out here. And somehow I guess I thought that things hadn't changed. Oh, it's like night and day.
Night and day, huh?
Ooh, yes.
Okay. Anyway. I think there's a lot of people feeling that those sighs that you have there. Okay. Yeah. So I appreciate you coming on because there's a range of experience that you have that I think could be really helpful for us, for you to share some insights with us. Okay. Being married for almost 20 years, going through divorce, and now, as you said, back out here. And could you share, because I think, I have an idea of why the work has drawn you. Could you share a bit about why the work has drawn you and what it was about that comment that you made that I put on the thumbnail that said, like, sometimes we heard the truths, but we just didn't listen. Can you just give us some insight into why you said that?
So in regards to the comment, that's because I feel like people are given wisdom and they just choose to not pay attention because the society has you going a different route. So I'll use myself as an example with that. So, as a young woman, so let me go back. My mother was married. My mother was married to my dad. They were married like 20 something years. My father passed away when I was 11, died of cancer. And then 2 years later, my mother remarried to my stepfather. And then they were married about 20 some odd years. And then she died. And so she spent most of her adult life married. And so for her with me, she went through the women's lib situation in terms of not being able to buy things without a credit card and all of those things that happened, in the 70s and all that. But she did not turn to me and say, well, don't get married, go get a job, go get a career. She told me to do both, and you can do both. So she's like, okay, go to school, get your degree, but you still want to get married. There's nothing wrong with marriage. And to be clear, my parents' marriage was not perfect. They had their issues. Her marriage to my stepfather was the complete opposite. And so she grew in her own way between those two marriages. So I saw a different woman from the marriage with my dad compared to the marriage with my stepfather. And even though she had her issues, she did not turn marriage against, did not turn me against marriage, I should say, and she felt like marriage had a lot of great qualities. She was very much into church. She was a deaconess at church. And so for her, it was like, it's biblical. This is what you should be doing. And this is really your best life. And so I think, the way society is now, when we're turning so far away from God.
Come on, Rebecca. Bring
it in. Yeah. And I did also, because for a while, I grew up in church. My father was a minister, so I lived the whole Black Baptist church experience. If I didn't,
that was that energy that we had before the. I feel it.
Yes, my father was, and he was very legalistic. Okay, so when you think about that. The word and everything, but he was so, I don't want to say bad, but it was like, okay, if I said I don't want to go to church, my father was like, oh, well, you're not going outside.
Okay.
So either you going to church or you gonna stay in the house all day. Okay, well, I guess I'll go to church, so when I come home I can go outside. It was like that. And so when I became an adult, I kind of steered away, and I was away from church. And even though I was married, I did not do that right in terms of being in church either. And so there are things in my marriage that, as I look back on it, in hindsight, there were things that I did that I should not have done. There was behaviors and mindsets and thoughts that I had that were part of the world. And when you're in the world, but you're trying to live a different way, you can't do both. You gotta pick.
Rebecca, you came here to give us a word here tonight. I didn't know that. I did not know that you were going to come here and preach the word now. That's good.
I'm just talking.
I like it. I like that. That's so that I was going to ask you.
Yes.
And then I think you sort of answered the question, and then I want to get into, and we're going to get into a clip. And by the way, y'all, this is the comment that brought Rebecca on. She says, some of us were taught this too, which was actually on my reel about the country music, which I got a lot of mixed reviews around country music versus it was the thing about the current culture of degeneracy. And you said some of us were taught this too. Some of us just didn't listen. So I just wanted to show the comment for reference. The question I was going to ask you, and then you sort of answered the question. I wonder if you answered the question. I wanted to ask you, what do you think it was about your mother that had her still pass on the value of marriage? And I ask because one reason is because you hear a lot of the opposite. You hear a lot of, oh, mom got divorced and then passed down bitterness and said, no, don't do this. So what do you think it was about your mother that had her pass on the value of marriage to you, even though she had gone through divorce and had two very different marriages?
Well, to be honest, so my mother's passed away in 2002. Okay, so she's been dead for quite a while. But, I was old enough when she passed away that we could have conversations, and I asked her a lot of questions. And for her, she felt like marriage for women, and to be clear, so she was born in 1925. So we're talking generational. And so as a young woman, she, had a good amount of suitors. She was very pretty as a young, I'm not trying to say, I could show you a picture, but she was beautiful. Matter of fact, her little claim to fame, she dated Paul Robeson's son.
I don't know who Paul Robeson. Who
Oh,
Paul?
Paul Robeson? You don't know Paul Robeson? Black History. Paul Robeson.
No, I
He
don't know
was
who Paul
like,
Robeson
you
is.
have to look him up. Anyway, once you look him up, then you'll know. But she dated his son for like a
Oh, American.
summer, and she broke up with him. Yes, Paul Robeson. Yes. Yep. And
Okay.
she dated his son. She used to go to Oak Bluffs. That's up there in New England area. She grew up in Massachusetts in Springfield. And so she always was kind of, I guess you could say, somewhat taken care of by a man in the old school sense, you know what I mean? And I feel like for her also, she was in church and she was following God and she carried the fruit of the spirit. So like I told you, my dad was kind of in legalism. My mom was fruit of the spirit. So we, I could not have had a better mother. And I am very thankful for that. She was a sweetheart. And for her, she felt like for me, and I guess based on what she saw in me, also as her child, that being married, there's nothing wrong with it. The problem is the people in the marriage, not marriage itself. So marriage is good, but when you walk into marriage with a bunch of nonsense and BS, sure. Sure, it's a problem. Then you don't like it, but you don't take accountability.
That's good. That's so good. That marriage is good.
Yeah, marriage is fine.
But the people that doing the marriage can create it's something that wasn't supposed to be. That was not, it was not supposed to be. That's good.
Yeah.
Let's pop into this. This first reel. It's Kevin Samuels reel. Okay. And we want to, people anyway. I'm trying to stay on topic. Now. All right, I'm gonna pop him on here. Let's see what he has to say. And I want to know what you think.
Like I say, single women keep women single. Why is this? Because they care more about their female friends' feelings than they care about their men. And gentlemen, this is when you need to start drawing the line. If a woman can't apologize, leave her. Give her the benefit of the doubt. Tell her the first time. But tell her, look, when you mess up, and you will, I need an apology. And the apology needs to fit the offense. Because soon as you mess up, soon as you do something, you start swinging into doing it more, because that's the way we've been cultured. The men got to fix women, but women ain't got to do shit except be there for men. You're supposed to be there for management of emotion, stroking of ego. They don't even understand the impact, guys. Women don't even understand the impact of when they do something wrong and they act like they didn't do it. And then when they finally get around to apologizing, they are indirect about it and then say, I apologize. And you're left like,
that's the reel made that noise. That's all he said. It just so y'all know, the reel made that noise. So I wanted to, with that message in particular, I heard two main things. Like there was one prevailing point, and then I think there was a sub point there. One was about apologies, and a big conversation right now is about accountability. And I think that's huge. Yeah.
Child back.
Accountability. And I want us to specifically talk about what he's talking about, which is women and apologies. I'm really about staying focused on the point, and we're not going to make this a blanket thing. I want to talk specifically about women and apologies. Do you think that so there was that point, and there was a sub point about kind of like women's role in relationship. What are women essentially supposed to do in relation to men? And so he's making a point about like women don't even know what to do, like in terms of emotional management. He specifically talked about emotional management and stroking ego. So that was a sub point, I think. But the prevailing point was about apologies, accountability. Do you think he has a point?
Oh, absolutely. Because women have a problem being accountable with each other.
Where do you think this comes from, Miss Rebecca? Where do you think this comes from?
I think it's society. I think it's social media. I think it's people who are running away from themselves. And so it's easier to outsource yourself at this, especially now. So you can outsource validation. You can outsource a personality. You can outsource your feelings, like I've watched several reels. I think Diary of a CEO. I think you probably have seen him, Stephen. Can't think, yeah. And so there was a gentleman on there that was talking about like how many more people are narcissistic now in society than before. And I think social media plays a role in that. But I think the biggest thing is that when you believe that you are right and you're entitled to certain things, the princess mindset, then when you do something wrong, you feel offended by the fact that you were told that you did something wrong. And so how dare you tell me that I did something wrong because I am perfect. I ain't never do anything wrong because I'm beautiful. I'm a 10, and hot dog,
I haven't heard a hot dog. I have not heard a good
I know
hot
I'm
dog.
old. I'm 61.
I haven't heard a good hot dog, in a second. Okay.
And we all supposed to be behind each other. And girl, you're right. And so as soon as you say the opposite, then it's like, how dare you? Wow. You're not agreeing with me, so I don't like you anymore. Or you're not agreeing with me and now we're mad. Or you're trying to make me be accountable, so I'm just going to ignore you altogether and act like you didn't exist versus just having a conversation. And I feel like I don't know, like the only thing I could truly say about it, to be honest with you, is that I think the relationship you have with your mom matters a lot.
Talk about it.
And I am very thankful for the mother I had. I mean, I would have my mother in death than a lot of people who have mothers alive.
My goodness. Okay. I know exactly what you mean.
My parents were very intentional with me, but in terms of discipline and everything, but my mom so like what he said about women, my mother used to always say there was an art to being a woman and that women, men are strange. She used to always say this, men are strange at best. That was like a little word.
Wait, what was that?
Men are strange at best.
Okay, men are strange at best.
Yes.
Okay.
And so that was like, but she said, but depending on how you talk to a man, depends on how he's going to respond to you. And so don't objectify men. And so she was very good about not objectifying men. And so
what do you mean by that? Help the people.
Okay, so objectifying a man means, ooh, he's got a 6-pack. Ooh, he's got a 6-figure income. Ooh, he's 6 feet tall and he's got a checklist. So I want him. But do you know who he is? Do you know how he is? Do you know how he thinks? Do you know what kind of personality he has? What is his value system? How is he going to deal with you? And so objectifying a person, you're not looking at the person internally. You're just looking at the aesthetics. And then you think, oh, he's cute. And that's it. And so when I hear all this conversation about women going after 10% of men, and then the other men are being, ignored or whatever happens with them, it's almost like you have like this model in your head of a man and what you think. And there are good men out here who may not be 6 feet tall. My ex-husband was 5'8", 5'7.5", and I'm 5'5". And so, did I get a tall man? No, but he's a great dad. Look wise, he was good and everything. We could talk about marriage later, but my point is that I feel like women just have like a checklist and then they have these expectations and then everybody seems very transactional.
It's like real quick because I have a couple questions about some things.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So much. I'm gonna go back.
No problem.
You said a couple things at the beginning of the point about women having a hard time with, in general, this is not every woman, I got to say that, I have to do my disclaimers. Okay. This is not every single woman. Okay. But at this point, it's quite a few. There's so many who are having a big problem. Ladies are having a big problem. And you said that two things I want to point out. One, that women have a hard time doing it with each other. And then you also describe some of the dynamics that can happen even in female friendships, the cutoffs, the turning against, now you're the enemy, right? Which is absolutely backwards and wild, because if you can't receive the feedback to growth, you can't take accountability, you stay stuck, and then you literally ostracize the person who would be essentially, they have a key for you, and you're saying no thank you, and then you essentially like vilify that person. So it's a really that's a really problematic aspect of too many female relationships that does not that does not typically happen. And I'm really being gracious in my language here. It's not typically happen in male spaces. They don't do these covert like cutoffs like that. And I definitely can make arguments about men having a hard time with accountability and being defensive. But today we're talking about women. Okay. And so I think that was an important note, that women in general have to recognize that about their relationships. It's not just with men, but even with female relationships. Oh, actually, you made 3 points I want to point out. Another one, the relationship with her mother. My goodness, I have to do that's a whole nother conversation. I'm not even going to unpack that because it's so deep and it's so important. But I just want to flag that because we need to have a communal conversation about the impact of the mother and how that affects the daughter, in short, and her relationship to herself and her relationship to accountability. You also mentioned how your mother taught you explicit teaching, and then there was modeling. You also mentioned offense. You said that I think this is so good, one of the problems is that when talking about a difficulty apologizing, is that when someone brings to your attention something that you have done wrong, and first of all, if someone cannot acknowledge that they can do wrong, we have a problem. That's the entitled woman mindset, the princess mindset is how you
exactly.
But if when it's brought to your attention that you've done something wrong, and then you become the offended one, and now you're collapsing under the weight of their responsibility. And now people got to take care of, let's talk about a man. Now a man's got to try to pick you up and gather you when you are the one that did the offense. Miss Rebecca, I have to be honest. I think that I know that some people, women and men, we're talking about women, y'all, but I'm gonna be clear. I understand we have a both sides issue in so many ways, but accountability is particularly difficult with women in romantic relationships. And honestly, I think that some people, it's so habitual, they literally do not realize that they're doing it. Because, and I'll tell you why I think that. And I know for plenty of men, that's difficult to believe. So I want to cover this real quick.
Okay.
So many men, it's like difficult to believe that a woman doesn't know that she's doing it, especially when so many women are doing it the same thing, the same sidesteps, the same deflections, the same flips. I am telling people right now, there are women who don't know that they're doing it. And when it's reflected to them and they are truly held to task, because I've seen it in my own practice, a woman is doing that same sequence, deflection, flipping, denial. But when she is in good faith and you help her to see what she's doing and the impact, she's able to adjust. That's not most when this happens. That is the more uncommon experience. Most when you reflect to them what's happening and articulate the sequence of what's going on. You now have a third party that's saying, hey, it's not just your boyfriend or husband, your fiance that's saying this. I just met you today and I'm seeing it, right? And they're still denying it. And it's a really, it's a massive issue. I mean, I truly believe that if people can't take responsibility and accountability, not only are they stuck in their individual life, they are effectively impossible to have a healthy relationship with. You just cannot have a healthy partnership, a healthy marriage for sure.
Exactly.
Someone who refuses to take accountability for their behavior.
Absolutely.
Anything that you in that recap, is there anything that you want to say on that before we move to this next reel?
No, I totally agree with you. And that goes for friendship too. It's hard to have a friendship with someone who doesn't want to take account for when they do something wrong. Yes. I mean, it's just, how do you do that?
Yeah. Before we got onto this conversation, when we were backstage, you mentioned my reel, the Ratchets reel. The Ratchets are wrong.
Yes.
And one of the things, like in that little series of reels, and maybe it was that one where I mentioned that with Black women, especially because there's so many of us that do that, that enable this behavior,
Mm-hmm.
it is so easy for Black women to just go right back into the big group and totally evade responsibility. And it's so easy.
Yes.
Fairly problematic.
Yes, I just to give you a brief example, because obviously with me being 61, I was young in the 90s, and so 90s you didn't have the BBLs and the hair and all. You had to work with whatever you had, and so I was getting ready to have a hip replacement. I have a hip replacement, but I was kind of thinking about my hair, like what should I do? Because I'm not going to be able to go to a hairdresser or whatever. So I went to a wig shop, but I went to the wig shop looking like this, okay, looking for a wig. And so the women, and it was sad to me. I'm not even saying this to be funny. I felt some kind of way walking out. The women looked at me like I was like, who are you? Because not in a way of like anger, but more like because you don't even see your own hair. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just, and I'm looking for a wig trying to match my gray, and they're looking at me like, and that's what it felt like. Like I didn't ask anybody, like, why are you looking at me like that? But it felt like they were looking at me like, but they were all in there trying on wigs and everything. And I'm like, how do you deal with you when you don't even want to deal with you?
On that note, we call switch real. That's good. That's good.
No offense to wigs, but when I see you, award shows and stuff, but when you go into the grocery store, when you go into work,
we do have to at some point we are going to have to address the accoutrements that have been okay. Let's move. Let's hit this one. We got a Jordan Peterson reel to check out.
Someone optimally over the longest period of time. In order to stay with someone optimally over the longest period of time possible, it has to be serious. And for something to be serious, you have to throw everything at it. And you might say, well, love is enough. It's like, that's a very naive view of the world, because there'll be times, because that's kind of like saying, well, as long as we love each other and we're happy, we'll be together. It's like, well, if you're talking 40 years, there's going to be plenty of years in there where you're not happy and you probably don't love each other. So what then? Is it just going to dissolve? Or are you going to say, we're in this, come hell or high water, which is the vow. And hell and high water, they're coming. And then you got to ask yourself, is this the person you want in the boat with you when hell and high water come? And that's not going to be fun, that's for sure. You want to do it alone? Or you think that when everything falls apart around you, you're going to be in a better position to find someone better? I don't think so. And then, you take the marital vow in a religious sense and you do it in front of a community, right? So it signifies commitment. And you need that because, you think you can maintain all that commitment on your own? Maybe you can. I doubt it. Generally, people can't, no one. We need to fortify ourselves in all sorts of ways to get through the things in life that are most difficult.
Okay.
Completely agree.
Okay. I'm going to pause real quick. I'm going to show this comment real quick. And y'all, there's super chats that are available as well. These are in these next couple shows, y'all. It's going to be the last time that I put comments on that aren't super chats. So, just note that. Okay. I appreciate everybody who participates in that way and supports the channel. So thank you so much. Okay. Miss Rebecca, Mr. Jordan Peterson just talked a lot about what it takes. He talked a lot about what it takes to be in a long-term relationship, to be married for a long period of time. He mentioned happiness, and that's a conversation that is definitely, it's been occurring now for several years, I would say, about this overemphasis. And I guess people might even debate over whether it's an overemphasis, but this emphasis on happiness and the impact that is having on someone's perception of their marriage.
Right.
Are they factoring in happiness when maybe that shouldn't be factored in so much? And maybe in some cases, I think some people are fine saying that it shouldn't be factored in at all. So I'm curious to know what you think about what he said.
Oh, I totally agree with him. Totally. Being divorced. Okay. I totally agree with him. I think for me personally, when I think about like my marriage and my divorce and everything, you know, marriage has different stages. And we did okay with stage 1 and 2. Like, you know, the honeymoon was great, you know, and then you're starting to get to know each other more. And we did okay there. Children came for us, and then it became extraordinarily difficult. And we did not find the support. Well, there was potential support there, but I got focused to a good extent on the happiness of my life and how I was going to be. And, you know, this isn't what I signed up for. And, you know, I started going, and, you know, and when you are not in a fortified situation, like what he was talking about with community and family around you and everything, it's very easy to fall out. It's very easy to fall out. It's very easy to, you know, just say, well, I don't want to do this anymore, you know, and everything is made so easy for you to leave. And people are like, you know, people have divorce parties and they're like, all like, oh yeah, you know, you're getting divorced, let's go out and party. And I did not feel like that at all. I actually went the opposite direction. When I got divorced, I was very, I guess I could say I was depressed, trying to hide it, but depressed most definitely. And so I think you have to figure out why you want to get married in the first place. Because I think some people just want to get married because they want to have a party.
Oh, you know,
they want to be special.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And you want a reception. I want to dress and I want my hair. And
it's attention, like all the attention that you get for that day and the social validation of it, right? The pictures afterwards that you share on social media, all of that stuff. And of course, that's not everyone's motivation, but it's definitely seeping in. I think, again, I'm being generous. Miss Rebecca, I'm just, sometimes I'm too nice on the internet. People don't know how gracious I am with this language sometimes. It has been seeping in to the motivations behind why people want to get married. You just said so much there. I would love for you to share, if you're open to sharing, about that phase where, because you said there are different stages. I think that's so important to recognize different stages. There was a point where you said you started getting more focused on your happiness. I would love to know more. Please help us to understand, give us some insight into that stage. And also I would love to know if you were practicing, you know, in Christianity at that time, or what you think, how you think you might have managed it if you were to reimagine that phase, if you had been in practice. So tell us about that stage.
So for me, a couple things. So my ex-husband is from Lebanon. So he was born and raised overseas, came over here. We got married. He was an immigrant. So we did, but you know, again, and when we were dating, he was lovely. I had like the best time with him. He was great. He was a wonderful boyfriend and all of that. And so when he asked me to marry him, I didn't really hesitate. I probably should have, maybe in hindsight, but I didn't, because then I was torn with, well, if I don't marry him, what will happen to him? You know, and then I would always be worrying about what had happened in his life and if I could have helped him or whatever, you know. So I became very, I don't know if I want to say self-abandoning in that point, but I really cared very deeply about what was going to happen to him. And so marrying him kind of solved all of that for me. I was tired of dating, you know, I was 27. So I was pretty tired of dating, and I really wanted to settle down in my life myself. And so all of that part worked out. And you know, people will say, oh, well, you just got married because he was an immigrant. And, you know, you could say that, but we did love each other. And like I told you earlier, he's like my cousin now.
Yeah, she said that off camera. We were talking.
Yeah, he's like a cousin. Yeah, he's like my family member. You know, like that part of my life. I mean, I don't look at him and think, oh, I want him back, or you know how people do that. No, you know, we had our time, we had our situation. He's remarried, he has children, and we all get along. His wife, as a matter of fact, took me to the hospital when I needed to have my hip replaced. You know, she got up at 4 a.m., took me to the hospital, brought me home, sent me food, all that. So we get along, you know what I mean? But when I was talking about marriage, the third stage of marriage is when kids come, you're working, he's working, and you're trying to manage all of that. My nervous system was on a 2500 at different points because I work, working for the state, whatever that entailed, and then working with my children, going to PTA meetings, because I did all the mom stuff. So anytime they needed to volunteer at school, I was there. My daughters played sports, so I did all of that, volunteering for everything. And so you move away from each other. You know what I mean? Like we were almost like roommates after a point also, which was very unfortunate. And so there's that hard part of marriage that you have to really pray your way through. You got to be around a lot of supporting people to walk you through that. And we didn't have that to the extent that I needed. My mom had passed away when so I had my daughter my oldest, when she was in 2000. So my daughter was not even 2 years old when my mom died. So had my mother, I don't want to blame my marriage on not having my mom, but my mother was like that support for me, big time. And so not having her, dealing with her death, it kind of snowballed. Yeah. And I never really got out of it. My ex-husband did his things too, but, to focus on me, that was a lot of it. It was a lot of it. And then when you're listening to, and I wasn't in church at that point. I've never not believed in God, but I had an issue with what I thought were church people being hypocrites, and I didn't want to be bothered, blah, blah, blah.
Right,
so
right. I get it.
And so, but when you're in the world trying to be married and then you decide you don't want to be, there's way more support for you to get out of a marriage than it is for you to stay in it.
That's true. That's real. That's real. Like, so hearing you say like the almost like the perfect storm of events and circumstances that when it piles up and you don't have supports, strategies, a system to help to mitigate that emotional overwhelm, the ship going down, because water just keeps getting poured in and there's not a dumping out. There's not a way to get it out. And then the whole thing goes down.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And I had one of my really wonderful friends. She's passed away now. She died in 2024. And we had our children at the same time, because her children are around the same age as my oldest daughter, and we were going through the same thing. And she, she died married. She did not divorce or anything. And so when I was divorcing, she was really concerned about me, and she's like, "Girl, why are you, and at that point, I didn't even hear her, because she was the one that was really telling me, "Hey, do you really want to do this? I know you don't like him right now, but come on, man. Like, do you really?" And I was not listening. And so fast forward, when, like I told you about Satori and helping me with, share parenting and everything, she, told me, she was like, "I am so glad that you got to the place where you could share parent, so your daughters did not become negatively impacted by that decision."
Yeah.
So
and something that stands out to me is that friend was married.
Yeah.
Now, I do think that single people can give good advice. I do, right? I don't think that good advice or wisdom is exclusive to any one group of people or one type of status. I do think, though, that someone's context can absolutely impact the kind of advice that you're going to receive from them.
Absolutely.
Right. And so when you're going through something within your relationship, talking to people who are in unhappy relationships or unsatisfying relationships is probably unsatisfying, unfulfilling, whatever. Sometimes I'd be afraid to use the word happy because people don't, so whatever. Something that's an unsatisfying relationship is not going the way it need to go.
Right.
And you and who you try to plug into matters. And that can greatly impact decisions that someone makes. So let's move on to this next. Let's move on to this next reel. We have one more that we're going to talk about tonight. I want to read this super chat out. Thank you so much, Black to the Future, who said, you have to surround yourself. This is kind of like what you have to surround yourself with people who are on code and understand no one is bigger than the program. The military doesn't let you go home to your own bed while in boot camp for a reason.
Yep.
Right in line with what we're talking about, right?
Thank you. Totally agree. Mm-hmm.
People who are around you and going by that have similar values, right? We talk about mindset a lot, similar vision, goals. And that doesn't need to be the exact same. You don't need to be around clones of ourselves.
No.
But to be aware of like, what are the general rules of engagement? Like what are we generally going for here? How do we generally approach marriage? How do we see marriage in our relationship? As women, how do we see our husband? Right. So yes, that's huge. Let's go to this clip. Y'all, a lot of this woman, Shera Seven, I think I don't know a lot about this woman, Shera Seven.
All are your own worst.
I just saw her today when you sent her to me. I'd never seen her before. So
okay, she's quite popular online. I mean, a million followers on Instagram. That's a whole lot of people. And I think probably maybe even more on TikTok. I don't know. I've never looked her up on TikTok, but I don't know a lot about her. I do think that she gets, from what I can tell, and of course, people who tend to be aligned with my content, I think if they bring her up, it's typically negative. I wanted to actually play a clip in good faith where I was like, oh, I agree totally with what you're saying. Then we're going to play something else where I want to get your opinion. But I thought this was just interesting to show people, because people hear this name and I think there's assumptions made about this woman. I don't know anything about her, but I wanted to play this clip for y'all.
All are your own worst enemy. There's no one to blame but yourself. You know what I'm saying? Every choice and decision that you make always points back to you. So the more you realize that, the better you can become. It's called self-awareness. And when you're aware of yourself and your flaws and all the excuses that you keep making and all the blah, 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 you can change it. But until you admit that to yourself, you're going to keep going in a circle and being your own worst enemy. So that's what you got to do. You got to stop and understand where you are going wrong, what decisions you need to be making better, and stop making excuses. We don't care. Nobody cares, actually. When you tell someone an excuse, they don't care. Either you do or you don't. Okay? We don't care. No one does. You have to care before anyone else does. I'll repeat that. You have to care before anyone else does.
Yep.
So if you have an excuse, oh, well, I can't do this because of that. Okay, I don't care. All I heard was you can't do something. Wonderful. I didn't care why, and I don't care about anything else. I know you can't do it. I'm putting you in the category of can't do. Oh, you can do something, or you'll figure out how to do something, or you're trying to do something. Okay, that's better. As soon as you have a negative mindset about yourself or about the things you're trying to accomplish, you're already failing. You're making them same type of excuses that them Dusties be making. When y'all asking them to do stuff for y'all, you got to do something for yourself, mentally, physically. You got to level up, and no more excuses, ladies. There ain't no excuse. And I think a lot of people realize that it's better not to say anything if you're going to say something negative about yourself. It's better not to make a comment of why you can't do something versus figuring out how you're going to do it, you know?
Right.
Honestly,
that was really good.
It was good. I don't know why. I wish that people would just not offend people. Like, I don't know why she had to throw in the Dusties comment. It's like, that's the kind of stuff that people just can't stand it. It's like, why'd you, like, what was the point? Like that, when I put that clip in there, I was kind of doing, I was kind of doing something else. Honestly, that part must have just missed me. But I think it was actually a good example of like, wow, she almost made it through the whole clip and then still had to.
I think that's just a thing. It's like, let's pepper it with nonsense.
Like,
let's throw some.
I was trying to help people to see. This was what my intention was, Miss Rebecca. Let me go off my script for a second. My intention in showing that was to show people that, hey, sometimes someone basically a clock can be right. A broken clock is right 2 times a day.
Right.
But then she kind of just messed it up. She kind of messed it up. But if we were to focus on the principle of what she was saying, aside from throwing in random offense to people,
Right.
that's something that is the principle is accurate, right?
Absolutely. My brother that passed
Mhm.
away used to tell me that. Like, I can't care about you more than you care about you.
And I think, to this person's point, this person, she's a huge misandrist and a gold digger. And that's been my understanding too. Like that's been like a big part of her work. Now I'm going to get to the point, y'all, but I just kind of just want to kind of hover here real quick. I think it's one of the reasons why there's going to be a lot of confusion, right? Because some helpful principles can be,
excuse me,
can be couched in actually some really problematic ulterior motives, or some more macro level beliefs or views or attitudes that are actually like deeply problematic. So
absolutely.
I wanted to play that to give her something positive. I ended up actually critiquing it, but I hope that it's helpful for somebody and makes people think about something. Right. This is what we're gonna watch Shera 7 again, and I want to know what you think about this clip.
Brainwashed to feel guilty, and the only reason you feel guilty is because you were brainwashed to feel guilty. And these men, they were taught to lie. They were taught to tell you what you need to hear so they can get what they want from you and roll around the mattress. You were taught to be honest and tell the truth. I wonder who told y'all that. You feel guilty for lying to a liar. Let that sink in. You feel guilty for lying to a liar that just wants to get you to the mattress. You ever heard the term all is fair in love and war? Or never play fair in an unfair world? Why do you think that in the world of dating, in the world of marriage, in the world of love, why do you think that women are the most heartbroken? Because y'all are watching romance, rom-com, fairy tales, and men are not. Men are taught something totally opposite of what you're taught. You're taught to be stupid. You're living in a fantasy world. They're not watching none of that crap unless you make them watch. They're not watching that. You're sitting over there watching romance, and they're sitting over there typing in on the computer with some tissues and lotion. Y'all are watching two separate things. And you're walking into that date, into that relationship with these dumb expectations of rom-com Disney movies. He's going in there thinking about rolling around the mattress because that's what he's watching. So y'all are on two different mindsets. And then you feel guilty for lying to this man when the first thing he told you was probably a lie to get you on the mattress. You never play fair in an unfair world. You've been programmed very differently from men. Okay? So you need to start thinking about that. You think a man would feel guilty if he stopped talking to you, or if he dumped you, or if he ghosted you, if you told him that you don't plan on sleeping with him? You think he would feel guilty for saying, no, I'm so sorry, I can't date you because you're not going to roll around on the mattress with me? No, they would not feel guilty at all, because that's the only reason that they were there in the first place. So if you want to go ahead and keep feeling guilty about telling guys what they need to know on a need-to-know basis, using your creative flair to get what you want out of the situation, then I'm so sorry for you. But you never play fair in an unfair world, ma'am. That's how you lose.
Ooh, hard to watch.
Yeah, that was a little. That's the common. Feels like the common theme out here for women. I don't agree with any of that. I think that's the objectification that women and the transactional mindset that women have now. And when you listen to people like that, that just fortifies that. But that sounded like a hot mess.
That was really tough. That was hard. That was a hard, like maybe 2 minutes. That was tough. I want to pause right here. Let's try to get ourselves together. This was so nice. This comment about you, Miss Rebecca. She loves your energy. That's what I said. I was like, Miss Rebecca's energy is just what we need. Okay.
So yes, you can chat with me for hours. I will talk a hole in your head. I'm kidding.
Yeah, we definitely gonna need you back. We definitely gonna need you back because you have so much to share with us, and you're so easy to listen to, and it's accurate, and that's what we need. We need real, and the warmth that you have, the realness that you have. I just love the combination.
Oh, thank you.
Now, yeah, Shera doing her gold digging thing as usual. Yes, the objectification, as Miss Rebecca said earlier, the objectification of men, and. You know what, Mr. Rebecca, because it's you, I'm gonna make another comment. I'm gonna make another comment about people's spirit. Now, I'm gonna pull this back up, y'all. We've
The
all,
reason you feel
I'm not
guilty
going
is
to
because
put us
you're
through the whole thing.
brainwashed to a liar that just wants to get you to the mattress. Do you ever?
You know, some about somebody's spirit. Now, I don't want to get personal. I don't know this woman, but I do
Right.
think that something that's, you know, we as people need to have a deeper level of discernment when it comes to who we're talking to. I mean, there are a million people on Instagram alone taking in that information.
Exactly.
That's a lot of people. I'm sure it's a bunch on TikTok as well, because TikTok eats that kind of content up.
Exactly.
What do you think about what she said? She mentioned, just a little recap, she mentioned
I'm laughing because
men lie. Sorry?
I'm laughing because it's like, oh, it's a hot mess. It's a hot dumpster dive mess.
Okay. Look, it's almost too much. I'm like, well, it was just bomb after bomb after bomb, not good. She talked about men lying. She basically said, why do you feel guilty? Because men are out here lying, so you're lying to a liar. Why should you feel bad about that? Men only want to sleep with you. He wouldn't feel bad if he, you know, made certain decisions about you. So why should you make decisions about them? Why should you essentially be mindful? Why should you care? I have a lot of thoughts. It's what are you? I want to hear from you. What do you think about what she said, and what's the impact that this could have?
Well, like you said, she has 1 million followers, so a lot of people are listening to that. But what I think is that she's had some pretty bad experiences herself, and she's projecting. And she's not healed. And, you know, a lot of people get out here and, you know, there's a way to have a platform, and everybody can have a platform. Like, you know, for me, for example, with you asking me to come on, I was really shocked, very happily surprised, and very thankful. Never wanted to do anything like this. Okay. But having said that, when you're not out here being intentional, trying to help, like, I feel like you are trying to help. Like, and I was very glad to come because I love your content. I think you're very purposeful. You're very intentional. I feel like with her and a lot of other people, it's almost like, well, let me just try to make some money. Let me see how much I can say that's going to, you know, do the clicks and the whatever, the algorithm and whatever all that is. And so she's not helpful at all. And when you keep pumping that kind of mindset into our society, because that's what happens, you know, you got all these followers, you're feeding that, then that mindset starts settling in people. It's almost like the dust from the air that settles on you, and now you're walking around with that. And if you are around people who think that way, then no one's going to tell you that that's wrong. You know, and she sounds insane to me. Sorry.
You said what you said, and you meant what you said, and that's, you know,
beat me up. You can't, but anyway, go ahead.
It's messages like this who make it more challenging for me to do my work. Now, I'm not complaining. I'm just stating a fact. It makes it more challenging. What we are up against in the mind is the wall is so high, the hole is so deep. This thing is incredibly,
it's like the Great Wall of China. It's like the Great Wall of China. Yep.
Yes, it is massive. And when we have those things pumping in to people's minds, and they're taking it seriously. Like, this is not for so many people that view that stuff. It's not, it's a joke. No, people are taking it seriously, and it affects it affects their perception of men.
Right.
It affects their perception of men. And I think it reinforces the distrust between men and women. Right now, we could totally flip this thing around and talk about all the things that, you know, plenty of men are saying that are also, you know, placing seeding discord. Now, come on, seeding discord and reinforcing the distrust and the mistrust of women. Right. Now, there are definitely untrustworthy people in the world, and at the same time, when now your mind is you're not just guarding your heart. At this point, you're coming in with offense, like you are on offense and defense, and you're no longer just in discernment mode. No, you're in like attack or evade mode. Exactly. Like, you're in an active threat situation. And it's things like that that help to create that kind of mindset, and it affects people's perceptions, and it's a distortion. I could go on and on and on about this. Like, I think it's deeply problematic. And it's not,
Absolutely.
I don't know this woman personally, but I do think I can comment on what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we can discern that it is not, as you said, Miss Rebecca, totally not helpful.
No, it's not
Thank
at
you so
all.
much,
It's
Margie.
awful, actually, because you are taking women and oh, thank you,
Yeah,
whoever
so
that was,
nice.
thank you. But you are taking women and you're kind of flipping them and brainwashing them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
And so for me, for example, and so I don't want to speak for other people. When I was growing up, so I grew up without social media, as old as I am. And so when I was a young woman, there were a lot of married women around me. The church that we went to, my mom and my stepfather were friends with a lot of married couples. The young women that all graduated from high school around the same time as me, we were children together at that church. A lot of them are still married. They have children, grandchildren, things like that. And so I can't speak to anybody else but me. But what I saw with all of that was like, oh, this is so cool. Like these people are all together. A lot of them have passed on now, but the family feel that we had, we were kind of insulated in a good way with them, and they were very intentional with us in terms of talking about marriage and things like that. How they worked with their children one-on-one, I don't know, but as a collective, they definitely brought that as an example. And so my mom, intentionally with me, was very supportive of marriage. She just said, you want to, because she was a widow with my dad, and there were all the things that were happening during the 70s that she had to live with him passing, because she didn't work. He worked for the state of Illinois, and she was a homemaker. She was at school with me. Like if she wasn't at home, she was with me at school, volunteering, PTA and all that. And so she felt like, well, I want you to be able to take care of yourself if you have to, because you can be single by being a widow, not necessarily divorced. And so, but that doesn't mean I want you to just not get married. And so, and the other mothers that I went to church with, they were pretty much the same with their daughters as well. And so I think when you have to heal, like that's the biggest thing. That, so like for me, for example, with my divorce, and I told you about Satori, he's helped me, and hopefully you'll have him on. I did send him a message and said, she's going to reach out to you. So you have to reach out to her now.
Okay. Now I have to.
Yes.
Miss Rebecca, you've been such a blessing today. I'm going to reach out to him right after we get off.
Yes, he's awesome. You will love Satori. He's awesome. God and Satori have got me here, okay? In that order. But what I was going to say is I wanted to heal so that I did not put that on my daughters. And so like my oldest daughter's engaged. They're getting married this year. And I want, if anything, what I'm doing now is kind of shepherding her and her fiance. So we go to church periodically, hang out with them, but I'm always trying to support them in their relationship. And I'm telling them, like I'm the one that's divorced. His mom and dad are still married, and he's a really nice young man. I really like Nikolak. I love him. We've had our little moments, but we're good, but I want her to be successful. I don't, and I feel like, I don't know what this is when you have done something in your life that didn't work, that you don't want it to work for your kids.
That's a whole, we're going to pin that right there, because that's a whole, we're going to be here for a long time to talk about why that stuff happens. Miss Rebecca, we're going to wrap right here. You have just lit up my day.
Awesome.
I have such affection for you.
Oh, thank you. And I have affection for you too. That's why I'm always like,
and the more that I've learned about you, I hear the similarities. I hear the similarities between you and my mom, my grandparents, deacons, and in the church, like choir director, all of that on both sides, and that upbringing and that fortifying and that first education and that spiritual foundation. My God, it is so, I cannot understate the significance, the importance, and how much of that has to do with why I am the way that I am now, and the way and the model in my mother and my it's, I mean, we are so fortunate and blessed to have that kind of model, and so many don't, and it has I mean, there's a lot of reasons why we're in the current predicament that we're in as a community, especially particularly as it pertains to relationships, but that the family and the upbringing and the education has so much to do with like and the lack of all of those things has so much to do with why we're seeing certain things now. So, you know, gosh, we just cannot understate it. I just so appreciate you. And this conversation has been so fun to have with you. Like, I feel like, you know, it's amazing that this is our first time actually talking like this. Like, I feel like I truly feel like I know you, and that is not a common, like, you know, experience. And I think it just has so much to do with just your heart posture and who you are. Those natural connections are really amazing. So I appreciate your time. I love what you've shared. I think a lot of people, men and women, are going to get a lot out of this. So thank you. And are there any kind of like final wrap-ups that you'd like to say to the people before we go tonight?
Well, for anyone who said anything really nice about me, thank you so much. I appreciate that. So because I don't see any of the comments, obviously I'll look later, but to you, Taylor, I could see from how you are that your parents were very intentional with you, and they did a wonderful job. And I love you and your husband together. You guys are a beautiful couple. I think you are so, I don't want to sound whatever, but I feel you guys are so cute to me. I'm like, oh, they're so cute.
Thank you.
I love it when I see the pictures. I'm like, oh, they are so cute. I love it. And then when I started listening to you and following you on Instagram, it's like, oh my God, she is awesome. And it's like the old school wisdom that somehow skipped a generation or something. Because you're a millennial, right? Are you a millennial? Yep. Okay. And a lot of millennials I've met are kind of jaded a bit, you know, unfortunately. And I can't really speak to that. I just think, wow, okay. But, you know, for whatever those reasons are. But I feel like for you being a millennial, you have been raised in a very intentional environment as well. And so the old school wisdom, I like to call it, was absolutely passed down to you. And I think that's what we're missing. Because I remember Black women in a different era. You know, Black women did not act like Black women do now. Black women would get you together.
Okay.
You know, old school Black mama would get you together, give you a look, and it's like, oh, let me go sit down and be quiet. You know, and now I'll just leave, you know it. So I don't even have to say. So I appreciate your time with me in terms of you asking me to come on. If you want me to come again.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we gonna need you back. Oh, we need you. Oh, we need you. I cannot do this by myself. I know that. I know. I need everybody that got something good to give. I need you. And so I just so appreciate you, because there are people that are in alignment with this work that can do what I can't, and are having certain different kind of message and different things to share that I can't. But we're all here for the same. But those are those people that I want us to be good for the same reasons.
I want us to be good. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, you know, a lot of this stuff has not been passed on, and I think God, I will end on this. I thank God I was protected. Seriously, when I look around, let me testify.
Amen.
Come on now.
Okay.
I look around and I say,
I feel the same way.
Gotta be God, because
God is good,
the way
honey.
I made it through.
Okay. Absolutely. Amen. I'm right. If we could high five, I would be like,
turn to your neighbor, and say, I made it through. My goodness. Thank you so much, Miss Rebecca. We absolutely will continue to be in contact. Oh, sure. I can't wait to see how this blesses people. And I hope everybody else has a good night, y'all. Thanks for being here.
Thank
Bye,
you,
y'all.
everybody. Thank you.
See y'all.